It's Halloween. It's October 31st. It is a B-Day. The question of the day is, what is a clone? Could somebody raise their hand and tell me yesterday's question? What was yesterday's question? Yes, ma'am. Yesterday's question number 3 said, thank you. Where does fertilization and development occur in a Homo sapien? Homo sapien, remember we said, Homo means genus and sapien is species. That is the binomial for a human. So where does fertilization occur? Where does it occur? Look at the terms from yesterday. Look at your notes from yesterday. Where does it occur? It occurs in the ovary. So is that inside the body or outside the body? Inside. So what do we call inside the body? What do we call, Miss Gracie? Internal fertilization. So fertilization is internal. What about development? Where does the offspring develop? Fertilization is internal. What does that mean? What does that mean? Tell me. What does internal mean? It happens inside the body. We're doing number 3. You asked me to do number 3, remember? Fertilization is internal. What about development? Soon as the baby's fertilized, that's what's the term called? When it's fertilized, it's one cell, has a special name. What's it called? Yes, Mr. Gallo. It is a zygote. Good job. So now the zygote is inside the uterus and the baby develops over time. Where does that happen? Internally or externally? Development happens internally. So fertilization is internal as well as development is internal. We talked about organisms yesterday that develop externally. God bless you. We talk about organisms that fertilize externally. And in a couple of minutes, you're going to look at a worksheet that refreshes your memory. Let's go backwards now, 2 days back, and see if we can recall the 5 different types of asexual reproduction. Raise your hand, please, and tell me what. You don't have to go in order. Pick anyone randomly and tell me what it is, but then you have to prove it. You have to prove it too, so maybe you need your notes to recall. Go ahead, Mr. Vincent. Good. Exactly. Number 2 is regeneration. How do you know that? Yeah. One of the parts is growing into, it's growing back, and this body part can also be regenerating a whole new organism. Can anybody give me an example of another organism that can do this? Regenerate. Lizards can. From your homework last night, you were asked to draw an organism that was regenerating. Starts with a P. Remember that one? It's a flatworm. Ariana, what'd you have to draw? Yes, you had to draw a planaria regenerating. So if we cut the planaria, it'll regenerate. So here's your planaria. If you cut the planaria, and sometimes you can cut it in a lot of different spots. Let's say we cut it right here. The top part gets cut off. This is going to regenerate the bottom. The bottom part is going to regenerate the top. And we have 2 whole new organisms. Planaria have the ability to regenerate when you cut them up. You can cut them like 30 times and we'll make 30 new planaria. They're kind of cool. Perfect. Sporulation. How do you know that? Exactly. This is a good one because of the spores. Now, I'm sorry. Oh, Mr. Alexander said this. I love this. Alex, he said sporulation, and somebody tell me about the spores. I'll give you an example. Mold. You see mold a lot. Where do you see mold? Growing where places that are? On bread, on moist places. Sometimes you see mold growing on walls in houses that have been abandoned. Does the mold just spontaneously appear? No, it comes from spores that were dormant. What does that mean, dormant? What does dormant mean? The spores are, what are they doing, Juan? They're inactive, they're sleeping, but they become active when the conditions are okay. Spores generate, or they start to germinate, they start to come alive when the conditions are suitable for them, but they're always around, they're airborne. So when you see the moldy bread and it has like all these dusty flakes? Those things become airborne and they fly around. The wind comes and takes them and they land someplace. So tomorrow, look at your lawns. Some of you might be surprised that you might have lots of mushrooms on the ground. Why? Why are we going to have lots of mushrooms on our lawns? What just recently happened 2 days ago? And it's going to happen again tomorrow. It's going to do what, Juan? Yeah. Yeah, the mushrooms grow. They don't come up spontaneously. They grow because the spores were there. Good job. I love that. All right, we got 2 more. 3 more. Give me another one, Samantha. Excellent. Now, did this complete its fission? No. Fission is not complete yet. So how do you know that's really happening? What do you see? What's the clue? What's the indicator that this is binary fission? Fission is division. What do you see? Yes, sir. You're on fire today. Go on. Yeah, it's pinching in the middle. So it's going to divide into 2 organisms. Fission is division. This is cell division. Do you remember the term that describes cell division in humans? What's it called, Samantha? Excellent job. Mitosis. This is cell division. Fission is division. And this one, fission is division, and mama had a baby and the baby popped off. This baby is popping off. This is Hydra. Thank you. Martina, tell me which example is this? There's 2 left. This is budding. How do we know that? What is the clue that we see in the picture? It is budding because we see what is happening right here. The baby's growing off the side of the mommy. Now, budding also happens a lot in yeast. Yeast will bud, and that yeast is very, very simple. They're unicellular organisms that reproduce. Here's a yeast. Very simple. Now, the yeast will start to grow buds off of it, and the buds get, this is an ugly bud, the buds get bigger until they pop off. So the baby is the offspring is a lot smaller. In this case, in fission, the organism loses the original and it splits into 2. This one, the mommy's still there. The baby just grows off of the mother. The last one, what kind of organism is this? What is this, Mackenzie? Number 3. What do you think it is? It is vegetative propagation. What's the clue? Vegetative propagation only happens. Go ahead, Mr. Gallo. Tell us. Yeah, the word vegetative looks like vegetable, and this is a plant. It's actually a fruit. It's a plant. This is a strawberry plant. But this is what gives you the clue that it's asexual, is the fact that the stem is growing horizontally and this is the new offspring that's identical to the mommy. What if it reproduced with the flower? Would it be asexual?
Yeah, no, bisexual.
It would be sexual because it has 2 different cells. All right, I need you guys to turn to page 9 in the back of your yellow notes. Go there. It looks like this. Yes. Okay, the cell at letter A. What is the name of the cell at letter A, Megan? Good. The sperm has a special name. You might need to look back at your notes. It's called, please don't call out. That hurts my heart. It's called the male what?
Oh, sorry.
It's the male. Look at your notes from yesterday. The male what, Donna? It's the reproductive cell, but it starts with a G. The male, go ahead, Mr. Hill. The male, on the top, look. Yes, the male gamete. What is the cell at letter B called? Giselle. Yes, and that is called the? Thank you, good job. The female gamete. When they merge, when they join, when they come together, sperm and egg, what's that called? Well, that's what the end result is called, but the process of it happening is called, yes, Donna, fertilization. Come together right now, fertilization. Sperm and egg come together, it gets fertilized. They merge, they join. When they merge, half of the DNA from the sperm, half of the DNA from the egg becomes whole. Where does fertilization occur? What letter? M's. D, it's already happened. Where does it start? C, it happens. Good. Now, D is the result of fertilization. This is 50% DNA. This is 50% DNA. What percentage of DNA is now in the letter D? 100%. It's unique because you get a blend, you get a variety from A and B. The D, I'm skipping. Let's go to 5. I just gave you the answer. Yolenis, tell me what number 5 is. The zygote is at which letter? At letter. The zygote is one cell, and it is after it's been fertilized. Where is the zygote? Letter D. This is the zygote right here. It has 100% DNA, and it's only one cell. So for a little while, you guys were one cell. Did you stay one cell? No. How did you become more than one cell? How did you become more than one cell? How did you become more than one cell, Rach? You did by cell division. Cell division has a special name. Samantha told you it before, Gracie. Yes, it's mitosis. The cells are dividing and they make exact replicas. So you were one cell with all your DNA, then you became 2, then you became 4, then you became 8, etc., 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 and now you're millions of cells. Every single cell in your body has the same exact DNA in it, except if you're a boy, your sperm has 50% of your DNA. And if you're a girl, your eggs have 50%. But every other cell, these body cells, have the same exact DNA. So cell division is going to start where? What letter does cell division start at, Tina? The process of cell division starts what letter? F. It's already divided, so it's going to go from E to F. Good job. E to F is cell division. Now the cells will divide and they break in half. Right here at F, that cell divides into 2 identical cells. What happens? What do we get? When they divide, Maricela, what happens? Let's look. If the cells at letter F divide into 2 and separate, what are we going to have? We're going to have twins, but what kind of twins? Identical or fraternal? Well, fraternal would mean they have different DNA in each one of them. So what do you think, Ems? They're going to be identical. Tell me how they would become fraternal. So identical means one egg splits into 2 identical eggs or cells. Fraternal means what? Yeah, 2 different eggs, 2 different sperm. So this happens, and this is the genetic one. The woman releases 2 eggs from her ovary. The sperm comes and joins this, and the sperm comes and joins this. 2 different eggs, 2 different sperm, 2 different fertilization processes. This is hereditary. So if you're a fraternal twin, you can pass that on to your children. You can have children that multiple births. Identical, anybody can have. That's less common. Fraternal twins are more common. All right, turn over on the back. This is what we did yesterday. We differentiated between the 2 ways you can fertilize versus develop. Who wants to read to me the beginning? What does it say after the do now? It says, go ahead, Miss Raft.
The egg to form a zygote. Fertilization can occur inside the body internally or outside the body external. The chart compares the type of fertilization and number of eggs produced.
Thank you. Okay, somebody tell me what fertilization means. What's going to happen? What's going to happen in fertilization, Yolenis? Good. They join, they merge, they combine, they become one. And when they become one, what is the result of that, Tomasi? They become a zygote, and then cells have to divide. Is fertilization sexual or asexual, Mitchell? It is sexual because you have to have how many parents, Mr. Alexander? You have to have 2. So we're looking at the chart. Question number 1, Mitch, read it to us. Okay, so external. Look in the chart. You see external, external, external. Where do they reproduce? In the water or on the land, Lara? They reproduce in the water. Why? What do you know about these organisms? They're all what type of organisms? Fish or an amphibian. So why would they reproduce and fertilize in water? Why, Juan? Go to the bathroom. Why do they reproduce in the water? What do we know about parental care or parental supervision or even parental involvement? Do they even know each other? No. What about plants? Go back to plants. Do they ever see each other? No. The pollen gets transferred by what? The wind or insects or birds. So the sperm and the egg get deposited in the water, and they might meet by chance. They might not meet. If they don't meet, what happens? It doesn't get fertilized and we don't have a baby. So if they don't meet, these 15,000 eggs and sperm, are they going to be fertilized? No. So will 15,000 eggs and sperm be fertilized? No, these 15,000 eggs will not be fertilized. Okay, the animal that produces the most eggs is what, Jared? Yes, it has 15,000 eggs. Do you think it produces 15,000 babies? No. The animal that produces the least amount of eggs is what, Rach? Yes, good. Let's add humans to our chart. Where do humans fertilize? Internal or external? Yes, sir. Internal. How many eggs do most women have at one time, Alex? 1. So now let's answer this question. If an animal has internal fertilization, do they produce a large amount of eggs or relatively small amount of eggs? Is it a lot of eggs or a small amount compared to the rest, Lara? A smaller amount, yeah. We're looking at the snail, the water flea, the human, and the leech, and they're pretty much smaller numbers than the rest. So when a fish produces lots of eggs, why would they produce lots of eggs? What is the purpose of producing lots of eggs? Why? Yeah, there's a greater chance of fertilization. That's one, because they're all not going to meet. We want them to meet, but we're not. The male and the female are not together. They just deposit their eggs and hope that the sperm will meet it. So we have a greater chance of fertilization, greater chance of reproduction. There's a lot of reasons. Give me some more. Fertilization. Yeah, this shows you that I can't spell that well. What else, mister? Okay, that's the same thing. Fertilization, repopulation. Give me another one. Remember the frog yesterday? She laid 50 eggs. How many survived? Only about 5. How come? Why? They were predators. Good. Some of them will be eaten. Predators will eat them. Donna Love, give me another one. What else? What happens if it gets really hot? What's going to happen to the water? If it's a pond or if it's just a puddle, the water will evaporate. What happens to the offspring? They're going to die off. So I have to keep reproducing a lot so I have the better chance of survival if the weather conditions change. Weather conditions can kill them. What's another example? It's humans. We're doing something. We're changing the world. How are we changing the world? Marissa? What are we doing? Are we clean and neat? No. People smoke and throw cigarettes out their windows. We burn fossil fuels. I watched 2 boys throw out the McDonald's out the window, and I said, oh, I really thought that they I don't know what they were doing. I'm like, you need to pick that up. And he gave me the dirtiest look. Really? This is our world. You're just going to throw that out in front of me on the ground? Hurt my heart. What did he do? What did he just do? What did he do? Marissa, what did he do? He caused pollution. That changes the whole environment. Pollution makes it very difficult for these organisms to survive. Okay, we're going back to the original question, what is a clone? Anybody know what a clone is? What is a clone? We got a lot of stuff going on today. What is a clone? This is from your homework. I made my little pictures. What's a clone? What's a clone, Vincent? Yeah, a copy of the original organism. Does anybody know what the first organism that was successfully cloned's name was? Shh, you're being rude. Samantha. Dolly the sheep. Let's look at Dolly. Can we hear Dolly?
From another adult sheep. Proving once and for all that even adult cells contain the necessary information for creating each part of an entire organism. Let's see how. Using microsurgery, scientists first removed the nucleus from an
Okay, this is an egg. They're taking the nucleus out of an egg, the female gamete. What percentage of DNA is in the egg? 50%. When we take the egg nucleus out, there's no more DNA. Watch what happens.
fertilized egg of an adult sheep. A complete udder cell was then taken from a 6-year-old ewe.
Okay, then we take a body cell. They took it from the udders of the sheep. All of our body cells have how much DNA in its nucleus? 100%. So I'm taking the DNA, or they took the DNA out of the udder cell. Now they took the DNA out of the egg cell. They have a plain basic egg cell, because that egg cell will then become, eventually we want it to be fertilized, and then it starts to divide and become a sheep. Let's see what they do next.
This cell was inserted into the emptied, unfertilized
They
egg.
put that cell into the
Now
egg.
contained a complete set of genes from the adult udder cell. After implantation into another sheep, it grew into a complete new individual.
They tricked that cell into
Body
thinking it was
an exact
fertilized.
genetic copy, a clone of the sheep that donated the udder cells.
Do you think that's possible to do in humans?
Scientists proved that adult cells carry workable versions of all genes necessary to produce an entire new organism. They proved that it was possible to clone a whole new organism.
It is possible, but here's the problem. It didn't take them one trial. They had to do it 277 times. What happened to the other organisms? They died. Or did they? Were they malformed? Do we have all these malformed sheep? But that was in the 1990s, so they're dead by now. Is it ethical for us to do that to humans? I don't know. What if we try to produce a human and then it didn't come out right? And it only had one arm, one eye, one lung, but it was still alive. Is that fair? Who's the parent? Who's taking care of that baby? Yeah, that's why it's sad. It takes 277 tries. What if we could do it foolproof every single time we could make another baby? Would you do that, Martina? Would you want to clone yourself? You want a little mini Martina? I would. But ethically, I don't know. We'll talk about that more in the future. I'm going to show you in animation mode how we click and clone. Oh, let's go here. This is the click and clone version of Mimi. We're going to make a Mimi, little mouse. So we have to click on Mimi to get her to go. Now, Mimi needs 3 different mice in order for this transaction to occur. We need the mouse we're going to clone. We need the mouse that we're going to borrow an egg from. And we need a mouse that we're going to surrogate. That means we're going to put the egg into her. We also need a microscope, petri dishes, pipettes, and we need a mitosis stimulator or cell division stimulator. So watch the process. There's about 6 steps, and they're pretty simple. They're definitely a lot more complicated than this, but we broke it down to a simple version. So the first thing we need to do is isolate the cells, so let's get there. Click and clone. Are you ready? They ask us to take the cell from Mimi. We're taking a somatic cell, which means we're taking the body cell. What percentage of DNA is in Mimi? In her somatic cell, Joseph, yes. 100%. We're taking Megdu's egg cell. What percentage of DNA is in Megdu's egg cell? Only 50%. But now, what are we going to do to Megdu's egg cell? We're taking out the nucleus. Suck it out. Let's go. What percentage of DNA now is in Megdu's egg cell? Coletti? 0. Nothing. It's a blank cell. So we're going to take this egg cell, and we're going to put the somatic cell together. And what are we going to do next? We're going to combine them, but we're not going to combine the cell. We're going to take out the nucleus of this cell. What percentage of DNA is in that nucleus? 100%. So what does the egg cell think? It got tricked. It thinks it was fertilized. So now it has a fertilized egg. What is this called, a fertilized egg? Starts with a Z. Fertilized egg is called M's. Zygote. The fertilized egg is now ready to do what? What happens after the zygote is one cell? You're not one cell for much longer. Go back to your notes if you don't remember. What happens next? Fertilized egg becomes a gastrula. What's a gastrula? It's a ball of cells. How do you become a ball of cells? Cell division. What's the term that describes cell division? Samantha's the one who spearheaded this for us in the beginning. Emily. Mitosis. So we're going to use the mitosis stimulator. Move it over. Mitosis stimulator, and we're going to make lots and lots of cells. And those cells are going to be ready to be implanted. Can we get this over here, please? Thank you very much. Okay, so the zygote becomes 2 cells, then 4 cells, then 8 cells, then 16, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It takes a long time for this to happen. It takes hours, not seconds. And finally, where do we put this ball of cells? Nobody should be packing up because we still have 5 more minutes or 7. Go ahead. In the uterus, good. The uterus of the surrogate, which is Momi. Momi's uterus, internal development. And we wait 19 days. That's the gestation period for a mouse. And now the mouse is born. What does the mouse look like? Deliver the mouse. Raise your hand. Do not call out. Somebody tell me what color this mouse is going to be, Ariana. Yes. Why is it brown, Vincent? Where'd the DNA come from? Mimi. Even though the egg cell came from Megdu and Momi surrogated it, this is only Mimi's DNA. Did this really happen in real life? Yes, it did in 1998 in the University of Hawaii. The genetically cloned mice. We don't want to clone humans because we don't think it's ethical. So what should we clone? Cloning animals? I don't know. I'm nervous about that. What should we clone? Maybe if we need them. But do we need them? Cattle, because we eat. But right now, there's a lot of talk about genetically modified foods. Do we want to eat them? No. So do you think we want to eat clones? No. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to eat a cloned animal. I'm afraid that it's not safe. What could we clone? Maybe not all organisms. Maybe just plants. Well, they're genetically modifying some food, and I'm not even sure if that's safe because there's not a lot of longitudinal studies. But I do know there's a shortage of transplants, lungs. People, it's very difficult. In order to get a lung, you have to get a lung from somebody who has once died. You want to wait for somebody to die? How about clone your lung? Get healthy tissue, let it regenerate, and clone a lung? Can we do that? Do you think? I don't know. I don't know if that's ethical or not. We could talk about that in the future. All right, one thing I want to do before we pack it up. A couple of days ago, I gave you this worksheet. Take it out. It looks like 6 different organisms on the front and 6 on the back. Looks like this. Yeah. Oh, you should have it. We got it the other day. Okay. I want to look at the tree. Look at the tree. And tell me, what do you know about the tree? The tree gives you a brief description of how it reproduces. So redwood trees are the tallest and largest trees in the world. Unlike other conifers, the trees bear male and female cones for pollination. So there's pollination involved, but there's also an availability or an opportunity for new trees to sprout from shallow roots. Keyword, generating a circle of trees identical to the parent. This is a tree. It has cones. It's a gymnosperm. The ones that have cones, remember that from the Plant Web Quest? What type of reproduction is the tree? Is it asexual, sexual, or both? Look at the clues. Take a second to process. Don't guess. I want you to prove it. Think about what's happening. The tree's over here. Okay, what do you think, Trayvon? Give me your answer and then prove it. All right, well, tell me what you think it is. And then why? What clue did you find? What was your clue? He says asexual because of what? Somebody help him out, Donna Love. Identical to the parent, but is it only asexual? Vincent. No, because they can also do what? Pollinate, male and female cones. So what do you think the answer is? Both types of reproduction. You have this paper. It's extra credit. You have to prove, highlight the reasons, and answer them. You may go to your next class.